Is the silence in your home louder than ever? I'm not talking about the quiet evenings after the kids have left, or the peaceful moments reading side by side. I'm talking about a different kind of silence, a silence that can grow between two people who have shared a lifetime. For many men over 60, and for the women who love them, or even just for the men themselves navigating this phase, there's a silence surrounding intimacy, a quiet withdrawal, a feeling perhaps that something vital is slipping away, without a word being spoken. What if I told you this silence, this slow, quiet giving up on a part of life that brings connection, joy, and vitality, isn't always about physical health? What if it's rooted in something far deeper, something rarely talked about, that's causing quiet heartbreak and distance, something that might be silently stealing intimacy, connection, and even your sense of self-worth? And what if I told you it doesn't have to be this way, that the reason for this quiet withdrawal and the path back to connection might be simpler and more profound than you could ever imagine? My name is Emily Carter. I've spent over 30 years as a geriatric specialist and relationship therapist, working with thousands of individuals and couples navigating the unique landscape of later life. I've sat with husbands and wives holding hands, sometimes tears in their eyes, sharing their hopes, their fears, and yes, their quiet struggles. I've helped men voice the unspoken pressures they carry, and helped partners understand the complex emotional world beneath the surface. I've seen firsthand the incredible resilience of the human heart and the power of connection at any age. My work isn't just about diagnosing or treating. It's about understanding the whole person, the history, the love, the challenges, and helping people find ways to continue living richly, connectedly, and with dignity. I've seen the patterns, the common threads that link so many experiences, and I want to share one of the most significant and often most painful silent struggles I encounter, and offer a glimmer of hope. So, let's talk honestly about this quiet giving up. You might be experiencing this yourself, or you might be watching a man you care about, your husband, your father, a friend, seem to retreat physically and emotionally from intimacy. It's a topic steeped in societal expectations, personal fears, and often a profound sense of isolation. For men, there's often an enormous, unspoken pressure. From a young age, masculinity can be tied to performance, to strength, and yes, to sexual prowess. Society often tells men, implicitly or explicitly, that their value, their virility, is linked to their sexual function. And as bodies change with age, and they do change for everyone, that pressure can become a heavy, silent burden. You might start noticing changes. Maybe your body doesn't respond exactly the way it used to. Maybe there are new aches and pains. Maybe medication has side effects you weren't prepared for. Or maybe you simply feel less energetic, less inclined. These are natural parts of aging. Your body is transitioning, just as it did in your youth. But instead of seeing these changes as a normal evolution, many men internalize them as a failure, a personal failing, a sign that they are losing it, that they are no longer desirable, no longer capable, no longer the man they once were, or the man they feel they should still be. This feeling isn't just about physical mechanics. It strikes at the core of identity. It whispers insidious thoughts. What if I can't perform? What if I disappoint my partner? What if they realize I'm not man enough anymore? And these thoughts, these fears, often lead to a predictable yet heartbreaking response: withdrawal. It feels safer to simply stop trying, to avoid the possibility of failure, to put up a wall, brick by silent brick. It's easier, or so it seems in the moment, to just let things fade, to stop initiating, to avoid physical closeness that might lead to an expectation of sex, to find excuses. I'm tired. My back hurts. Let's just watch TV. This isn't because desire completely vanishes or because love for a partner diminishes. Often, it's a protective measure, a way to shield oneself from perceived inadequacy. But this silence, this withdrawal, creates distance. It leaves a void for the man experiencing it. It can lead to feelings of isolation, shame, and a deepening sense of loss, not just of sexual function, but of connection, confidence, and a vital part of life. For partners, the silence can be equally painful. They might feel confused, rejected, or undesirable themselves. They might wonder if they did something wrong, if their partner no longer loves them, or if they're simply being taken for granted. The unspoken issue becomes a wedge, slowly pushing two people apart, even when they are sitting in the same room. If you're watching this because you're concerned about a man you care about, understand this. His silence is often a sign of deeply held fear and vulnerability, not indifference. It's a quiet struggle with identity and worth in a world that often doesn't celebrate the natural aging process, especially for men. He may feel immense pressure to be strong, and admitting this struggle feels like weakness. You might feel like you're the only one going through this. You're not. This silent struggle is incredibly common. Millions of men over 60 experience this quiet pressure, this fear of not measuring up, and the subsequent impulse to withdraw. It's a hidden epidemic of emotional and relational disconnection. And here's the crucial part. While physical factors absolutely play a role, the decision to quietly give up, to retreat into silence, is often driven more by the emotional and psychological weight of those physical changes and the fear of failing or disappointing oneself and one's partner. It's the meaning attached to the changes, not just the changes themselves, that leads to the silence. This is where the real pain lies. It's the loss of effortless intimacy, the unspoken longing, the growing gap between two hearts that used to beat as one. It's the fear that this fundamental, connecting part of life is simply over, irrevocably lost. Let me share a story, a composite of many I've heard over the years. Let's call him Robert. Robert had been married to Eleanor for over 40 years. They had built a good life, raised children, shared dreams and challenges. Intimacy had always been a natural, comfortable part of their relationship. Not always fireworks, but a consistent, warm connection. As Robert entered his late 60s, things started to shift. He noticed his body wasn't quite as predictable. There were times when things just didn't work the way they used to. At first, he brushed it off. Just a one-off, he told himself. But it happened again and again. With each instance, a little seed of doubt was planted. Then fear. Then shame. Robert started to dread intimate moments. He worried about failing. He worried about Eleanor's reaction, even though she never said anything critical. He imagined her disappointment, her pity, or worse, her quiet judgment. He started making excuses more often, going to bed earlier or later than Eleanor, finding reasons to be busy in the evenings. Physical touch that wasn't specifically sexual became less frequent too. A hand on her back, an arm around her shoulder on the couch. Why? Because even that felt like it might lead down a path he was now terrified of navigating. Inside, Robert felt a growing sense of inadequacy. He felt like he was letting Eleanor down, like he was no longer a complete man in this fundamental way. He remembered the younger, more confident version of himself and felt a pang of loss. He started withdrawing in other ways too. He was less talkative about his feelings. He held things in, The physical distance morphed into emotional distance. Eleanor noticed. Of course she did. She saw the excuses. She felt the lack of spontaneous touch. She saw him seem to stiffen slightly if she initiated closeness. She didn't understand. She initially worried she was the problem. Had she gained weight? Was she no longer attractive? She tried to talk about it once, tentatively asking if everything was okay. Robert just mumbled something about being tired, avoiding eye contact. That conversation shut Eleanor down. She didn't want to pressure him or make him feel worse, so she retreated too. The silence grew. The space between them widened. They still loved each other, deeply. They were still companions. But that layer of intimate connection, the physical and emotional vulnerability that intimacy fosters, was fading. Robert was stuck in a prison of his own fear and shame. He interpreted his body's natural changes through the lens of societal pressure and personal failure. He believed the lie that intimacy was over for him because it wasn't the same as it was at 30. He felt trapped, alone, and increasingly resigned. He was quietly giving up, not just on sex, but on a significant pathway to connection with the woman he loved and a part of his own identity. This silence, this internal narrative of failure, this growing distance, this was the quiet heartbreak I saw in Robert and Eleanor. It wasn't just about the absence of physical sex. It was about the erosion of vulnerability, the lack of open communication, and the resulting emotional isolation. It was painful for both of them, locked in their separate silences. So how do you break this kind of silence? How do you bridge this widening gap? For many men, and for couples like Robert and Eleanor, the thought of addressing this directly feels monumental, terrifying even. Talking about physical issues feels like admitting failure. Talking about feelings of inadequacy feels vulnerable. But what if the first step back towards connection isn't about fixing anything physical or even directly talking about sex? What if the surprising, simple, and powerful solution lies in something you can do right at home tonight that shifts the focus entirely? The key isn't performance. It's connection, and the path to reconnection often starts not with talking about the problem, but by rediscovering the person. I call it the curiosity conversation. It's not about probing or fixing or demanding. It's about genuine, gentle curiosity about your partner's inner world, outside the bedroom and outside the challenges you're facing. It's about dedicating just a few minutes, consistently, to simply connecting on a human level. Here's how it works. Find a quiet time, maybe 5 or 10 minutes before bed, or during a calm moment in the day. Sit together, comfortably, without distractions like the TV or phones. And instead of talking about the bills, the news, or your worries, ask a question designed to spark reflection and connection. Not a "how was your day" superficial question, but something that invites a glimpse into their thoughts, feelings, or memories. And listen. Really listen, without interrupting, without judgment. Just listen with genuine curiosity. Questions like, what's something small that brought you a smile today? What's a favorite memory from our early days together that pops into your mind sometimes? If you could spend an hour doing absolutely anything tomorrow, what would it be? What's a quality you admire in someone you know? Is there anything you read or heard recently that made you think? What's something you're looking forward to, even if it's small? What's a place you felt truly at peace? These aren't therapy questions. They're invitation questions. Invitations to share a piece of their world with you. And you share in return. Take turns asking and listening. This simple act, the curiosity conversation, seems so basic, Almost too simple to be a solution to such a deep problem. But it is profoundly powerful. It rebuilds the bridge of emotional intimacy that the silence has eroded. It reminds you both of the person beyond the performance, beyond the physical changes, beyond the unspoken fears. Now you might wonder, how can simple conversation possibly address the quiet withdrawal and the pain it causes? The science is fascinating and clear. When you engage in this kind of open, non-demand conversation, focusing on shared feelings, memories, or simple present moments, you activate different parts of the brain than when you're problem-solving or feeling stressed. This kind of connected listening and sharing helps regulate your nervous system. It reduces the levels of stress hormones like cortisol, which can dampen desire and increase anxiety. More importantly, genuine empathetic connection, like that fostered by the curiosity conversation, helps release oxytocin, sometimes called the cuddle hormone or the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is crucial for building trust, fostering feelings of closeness, and reducing social fear. Think of it this way: the silence and fear build walls. The curiosity conversation lays down a pathway across that wall. It creates a safe space where vulnerability feels less terrifying. When you feel truly seen and heard, not for what your body can or can't do, but for who you are inside, it rebuilds confidence and trust, both in yourself and in your partner. This renewed emotional intimacy is the foundation upon which physical intimacy, in its many forms, can be rebuilt or rediscovered. It takes the pressure off performance and puts the focus back on connection and pleasure in its broadest sense. Studies on long-term relationships consistently show that strong emotional connection is the bedrock of satisfying physical intimacy in later life. You're not just hoping physical connection will reappear. You're actively building the fertile ground for it to potentially flourish again on its own terms, without pressure. It's not a magic pill, but it's a scientifically supported way to chip away at the silence and rebuild the foundation of your relationship. So here is my gentle invitation to you. Whether you are the man experiencing this quiet withdrawal, the partner feeling the distance, or perhaps an adult child who understands this dynamic in your parents' lives, don't think about fixing anything big right now. Don't put pressure on yourselves. Just commit to trying one small thing. Tonight or sometime very soon, simply sit with the person you want to connect with. Look them in the eye, maybe hold their hand if that feels comfortable, and ask just one question from the curiosity conversation list, or one like it. Then, just listen and share your own answer if they ask you a question in return. That's it. One small step. 5 minutes. No expectations beyond sharing a simple moment of connection. You don't need to solve the entire problem. You don't need to have a big, scary conversation. Just open a tiny window. Let a little bit of light and air into the silence. Try it once. See how it feels. There is no failure in trying to connect. Please understand, your worth, your masculinity, your desirability, they are not defined by physical performance. They are inherent in who you are, the life you've lived, the love you hold in your heart, the connections you build. Aging is a process of change, not decline in value. Intimacy in later life evolves. It can become deeper, more tender, more meaningful, precisely because it's less about pressure and more about presence, connection, and shared vulnerability. The silence you might be experiencing is not a sign that you are broken or unlovable. It is a sign that fear and unspoken pressures have taken hold. But you have the power to shift this. You have the power to choose connection over withdrawal. You have the power to be brave enough to be vulnerable, even if it's just for a few minutes, asking a simple question. It is never too late to reconnect. It is never too late to rediscover intimacy in new ways. It is never too late to feel seen, heard, and cherished, and to offer that same gift to someone you care about. This quiet withdrawal can be overcome, not by force or pressure, but by gently opening the door to connection, conversation, and rediscovering the person, heart to heart. This topic is deeply personal and often difficult to talk about, but sharing our experiences helps others feel less alone. If this video resonated with you, if you found any part of it helpful, or if it sparked some thought or understanding, please let me know. Just type the number 1 in the comments below. Seeing that 1 tells me that sharing these insights is valuable and encourages me to create more videos like this. If this video didn't resonate or wasn't what you were looking for, you can type 0. Your feedback is important, whatever it is. And if you feel comfortable, perhaps share one non-personal takeaway or feeling this video brought up for you, anonymously if you prefer. But sharing helps build a community of understanding. Please also take a moment to give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. Your likes help this message reach more people who might be quietly struggling. And subscribe to my channel if you'd like more gentle wisdom and practical advice on living a connected, fulfilling life in your later years. Thank you for spending this time with me. Remember, you are not alone, and connection is always possible.